What's up, yo? I'm chilling. Great chilling. Really fun episode right here coming up. The Mighty Mar in the building. Beans in the building. We're gonna talk about sports in the workplace. What makes one qualified to be a leader in the professional world? Do they need to know sports? Do they need to be athletic? Talk about coaching and presence. But first and foremost, what I really want to do is introduce ourselves a little bit more. Because people know me, they see Mighty Mar, Hillbill Mar, Black Guppy, they see the fish dock, see a lot of things out there. But and I'll talk about myself a little bit here too. But let me say this first of all. Beans is like Charles Barkley, always got some great takes, probably one of the top greatest players of all time. So he doesn't have any socials, no socials. But I want to ask, and I want you to share the story of Beans, like Pusha T.
First of all, I just want to say I appreciate the introduction. Definitely.
You're welcome,
And
sir.
Lamar is 100% correct. I don't have a lot of the social medias out there. I don't post a lot. But one, you already know who I am, man. I'm an athlete and a scholar. You know that. Always been that. No, I'm joking. I haven't. So going way back when, um, from Virginia Beach area, born and raised and operating 7 cities throughout the whole time. Always play youth sports.
What are the seven cities
Always,
again?
you gonna put me in a spot like that?
I mean, I don't know. I guess when you say the seven cities, I feel like not everyone knows the seven cities, but
I'll go ahead and say it. So you got Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Portsmouth, Newport News, Hampton, and
mm,
Suffolk. Seven
Piedmouth,
cities.
P-Town, Hampton, and Suffolk are the ones I always forget for some reason.
Yeah, and that's funny you say that because I ain't gonna lie, like we do the video, they might feel some type of way.
And I apologize. That's why I asked the question. See, there you go. There you go again, yo. Please continue. I just wanted to know the seven.
I'm just warning. That's it. Uh, but anyways, yeah, man. Getting back to the point, always been from here. Love it. Grew up, like I said, competitive. Just getting after it. Always been challenged. Parents always, had me involved, which is great. Thankful to both of them. Served as well in the community at the
Mm.
mom courthouse clerk, as well as the father state policeman over 30 years. So really, honestly, just blessed to have grown up in that environment, as well as the surrounding community, as well. And then I got my little bro, of course, you know what I mean, 8 years apart doing his thing, and y'all hear about him more. And then obviously, the wifey with a few kiddos here, and y'all will definitely soon find out about who they are as well as we move forward.
So take me back a little bit more. Like what I know you said you was an athlete and a scholar, but it said right here that you had averaged a 4.0 GPA and were all state, Piedmouth, Hampton, and Suffolk in three of the seven cities. First to do it since Sweet Pea Whitaker in 75. I mean, could you bring us a little bit closer to that, please?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna have to figure out where you pulled those statistics.
Oh, right here, sir.
Not not gonna deny it. You might have drafted it up, but I ain't gonna lie. When you put the glasses on, it's official.
I
So
know.
that means it's true.
I know. Hey, how can you argue with somebody doing this?
You you can't, because the one when you do that is planned.
Yeah, especially when they come
That
out
is
of
a
nowhere.
planned
Yeah,
movement.
man. Yo, that's tight, dog. But hold on.
Let me get a little closer look.
Nah,
But
yo,
yeah, man. So shoot, appreciate the
sure.
introduction for sure. Obviously we'll talk more, what I mean, about my background and what I mean, where we're at now, from where we were then. But it's interesting. What I always think about too is like really just how we connected. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think? We both show up, prep school, and we're not just showing up to school, right? It's a competitive sport that we were recruited for. So really, like, what do you think your background wise and things connected us, if that makes sense?
Well, most people know my background being from Baltimore, county, county side. See, a lot of people outside of Baltimore don't really understand the dichotomy between the county and the city. But I grew up right on the city line, and I was an athletic guy too. Scholar, pushed by my mom, in academics, and so that had me on the Baltimore Sun, and that was a really good moment for me, really cool moment for me, and that got me into the door to go to prep school. And at prep school, that's where I felt like, okay, I have to make the most of this opportunity because I wasn't, I was a decent athlete. I played a couple of different sports, but I wasn't at your, I was joking, obviously joking earlier, but I wasn't at your caliber, you know what I mean? At least coming out of high school of athleticism and in multiple sports like yourself, and those athletes in those areas down there are dangerous. Even up Baltimore, it's some serious talent up here too. But I started the game late, but I got to prep school, and that's where I had connected with you. And I think you was like one of the, I can tell like you was one of them real ones. You know what I mean? Because from us in Baltimore, we be seeing dudes like AI and the VA dudes. We see the VA dudes like the clips and stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's what's up. You know what I mean? But then when I met you, I was like, oh, okay, he like, when you said you're from Virginia Beach, I was like, all right. And you was returning punts. I was like, all right. You know what I mean? It was nice. He was like undersized. So I know you already had probably a chip on your shoulder too, having that size, balling out. But, I'm glad we connected. And then, life just works itself out. Because there's some people I know that we would be friends for a long time, but the seasons just don't line up right. And I think our seasons lined up right when we left West Point, went to El Paso for 5 years, right? Then I was in Africa. Then I was in Germany. Then I came back and we just kept in touch through Voxer. And then, you're a communicator and I respect that. So I'm gonna respond, you know what I mean? Because I'm a loyalist. And then post army, you got your degree, I got my degree, and I think we just been continuing to build, and I think we able to be vulnerable and authentic in a lot of ways, with each other and our families. Obviously, he like said, got kids that play on Fortnite now. That joint's tough. So we out here building a new generation, man. So I think that's why we connected, and that's how we still connected in a lot of ways, yo. So is there anything else about your story that you feel that you would have to share with somebody to let them know this is where you at in life right now?
I mean, I think you said it all. I think you said it definitely best. Just and I find it always interesting, right? How you can be from Maryland, right? And then I'm from Virginia. Obviously, we got our cities within states and how mentalities can just sync, right? And I will always say that it's like I feel like out of everybody I ever met and encountered in school is like, all right, like I can vibe with this guy, right? Just in general, off the mentality, effort, the mentality of the physicalness of, whether any sport, right? And competitiveness, right? So I think that's pretty dope to hear that, pretty much even as you're talking, just that connectedness, right? You said how, the mother push you academically, same thing. My mom was big on them academics,
Yeah,
you know what
moms
I
don't be
mean?
playing.
And I that the balance is real, right? You see the benefits of that, where it's like, yeah, you can run fast, yeah, you can hit the ball because you play baseball. I didn't, but I played basketball, right? Off of football. We both obviously played that. But then, the pops, they probably were those what physical, right? Like, hey, bro, hitting them weights, right? Jokey, the physique. This guy, if y'all don't know, fitness competition. I'll make sure that photo comes in here. Um, for y'all. Um, but it's like the dads did that piece, right? So that balance is just it's really big when you can have that parental parental balance where you got, the moms doing the moms things, right? The female doing the female things and then the pops doing the dad things. Like, hey man, you gotta be tough out here. You gotta you gotta get it because dudes ain't gonna take it easy on you. So I definitely value that. Tidewater region, like you said, it was huge. always playing sports. We joked about the seven cities, but the big thing is like I tell you every time is like, guess what? We playing in these buildings, we playing these facilities, and it was dope to play at Bethel and walk past the wall where I was like, man, I ain't know AI was a quarterback here, balling out. Dude got his chain on, picture up, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. In the high school, it's like that's motivation for kids because a lot of times, a lot of these athletes they don't even realize like they was multi sporters. They just chose this sport. You know what I mean? And you hear it all the time. Like people are like, yo, he could have actually played ball. Like even LeBron, right? They're like, he could have played football. Like, but it's dope to see. Obviously to keep those archives. I think that's huge too. I'm pretty sure I go back. I'll have my stuff up there. A couple of my boys, that I grew up with. Like you look us up last time, you already know who came out of there. And it's like our stuff will probably still be there. I'm pretty sure, 100%. And and that'll be that focus too. When as I progress, is to give back and give back a little more. If that makes sense.
Yo, that's dope though, yo. You had mentioned something about mentality and that physicality and that type of this and that type of aspect, which was pretty interesting. But obviously mindset always hits with me, yo. Anytime we hear mindset. And it leads me to the space I'm in now, because been fortunate to have opportunities to go in Studio 17 and talk to the best people in the world in Baltimore and to start the Leaders Lounge. And now here we are on Great Chillin'. And everything that we just laid out in terms of our backgrounds and just pushing hard, even academically, I think about this. Let me ask you this. Do you think that someone that is pushed academically, is there a balance between academics and athletics where you think that you need to have some type of balance, or is it okay to be 100% academics and just continue the plight of your life that way and not be involved in any sports, not have any physical, or athleticism, because athleticism, that's what matters. Is it possible that someone could just be academic their whole life and just be able to lead and be qualified to, what I mean, be a part of an executive group, or just thrive? And like, where do you see like a balance between, and then do you need to be athletic the whole way? Like, what is the right balance, you think? Like 60-40, 80-20?
I mean, looking back, and obviously we still got learning to do, right? So I'll put that out there first. We all still learn each day, every year, right? Even with our kiddos, we learn all the time, parents and everything, right? And assess. That's what we should be doing. But I ain't gonna lie, that's a great question, actually. Because thinking back, it makes me think, right, about a lot of things. So, of course, I can think about the big wigs that are financially, obviously, in America, people pay attention to, right? Elon Musk, right? They're talking about Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk talking about fighting, right? So, to the average person, right, you're like, the- these dudes are
Hold on,
billionaires
say
and they're
that one more
talking
time.
about
Oh,
these
hey, run that back one more time. It was Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg about to get into a boxing
look,
match, right?
did I mistake that? Did you see that too
I
as
saw that
well at
too, but
some point?
you just reminded me. I was like, just
But isn't that but think about that though. Like you have two billionaires
right.
that they are training in the gym ready to possibly fight, right? Like as if they are you talk to regular MMA fighters, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That they're like, I'm barely making it. I'm living in the whip and I gotta get into this octagon, right? To hopefully not get killed. You know what I'm saying? And you got billionaires like, yeah, let's do this. You know what? I have nothing else to do. But I say that and to make a point of is that the kind of I guess support where I'm going with it is that I do think that there is that balance that makes you I guess, more equipped to do certain things, right? So if you are very smart, very savvy, but you don't really have that certain background where you did certain things to interact with other people, build teams, and do things, then it's probably not going to go so far because now all of a sudden, like, you're just not ready to, you don't know how to lead. You don't know how to do certain things. You don't know how to take feedback, maybe. You don't you have an diversity, right? With sports, I think is the big thing. Like when I think back, to playing sports, it's like that's one thing I can say, even at West Point, right? Is like you got black dudes on the team, you got black
Mm-hmm.
dudes from Baltimore, like you got dudes from VA, you got black dudes from the country, you got white dudes from the country, you got white dudes from the city, you got Hispanics, you got, you know what I mean? And when you grow up playing sports, it's like that's what you normally see is that at some point you're gonna all
You bring up a big point because that's what effective teams are. They're diverse. So as a leader, you need to understand how to interact with these diverse folks. Because I'll be honest, when I came out of Baltimore and I came to West Point, I thought everybody said, yo, I don't think I got out of like the state that often. But when I say that, I thought everybody said, yo, I thought everybody was like, hey, yo, what's up, yo? Like, I thought everybody had, yo.
talking a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying, yo, a lot. And I think I had a lot of Baltimore, like, accent on me that I didn't even realize I had. And, but once you start maturing and once you start growing, you know what I mean? And you interact with people, you kind of learn how to like control that because you want to be able to communicate with some people. You know what I mean? You want to be able to not say like come down to somebody's level, but the country people, even them, like some of them, I didn't know what they were saying, bro. Like I'll be honest. When they started saying finna, I didn't know what finna meant like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then, obviously the clothing was all misaligned. Guys was coming out with, all different types of, shoes and shit. Like I wasn't really tracking that at the time. And then people see my Nike boots and they was geeking on them like because they never seen that. So the
Yeah.
fact that like that experience happened, it was able to give me the tools to now accept and really be able to cultivate a relationship of empathy with people in the workplace. You know what I mean? Because people want to feel safe being themselves. People want to be
Yeah.
able to communicate, you know what I mean? And people that don't play sports, you're taking yourself out of that opportunity, you know what I mean? Of direct. Now, I'm not saying like the debate team or the engineering club or the volcano after school contest group team didn't have
Chess club.
camaraderie and diversity, right? But
Yeah.
Let's mix this up. Come on, Sanchez. Come on, you want to get in on this? Oh, come on, Dad. Let's all get it together. Let's go. Volcanoes on three. One, two, three.
Oh, they got that
I said,
goggles on, bro. Because we won't good in chemistry.
I know, yo. Yeah, we was in there. And that's where we always sorry, excuse me. That's where we connected to was at, the point. We was both struggling. We was both struggling in chemistry. I think a 69% was a C minus at the time.
Bro,
Um
I remember I had the highest grade at one point in there, and it was a 60. Like you said, I think it was like it was in the 60s. So it was like 68, 69. And it was like out of 15 to 20 people, bro, the highest grade was 68,
and you
bro.
was a hardworking student. You
And
was a
that just
hardworking student.
tells people like it just wasn't the thing. But the other part that you made that, I want to comment on too is, the big thing that I think of when we say is there a balance, right, between who qualified, who may not be qualified, right? And then the athleticism is, I think, to the application process, right, of schools and colleges, right? So everybody, if you don't know, there is a hard application process for Ivy League schools, definitely the academies for sure, where you even got to get senators' letters and recommendations. If you're not an athlete, a lot of times, guess what you have to have? They're gonna be looking for, which I'm finding it's out because I've never done it. Is did you do Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or and it's like what clubs are you in? And everybody says that. How do you boost your resume? How do you boost your application? The stuff that we're talking about, which obviously is gonna tie into what
Yeah.
interaction,
Let's go back
learning
to the
diversity,
go back to the
physicalness.
go back to the application process real quick because I want to draw that out too a little bit more. I haven't gone through an application process in a long time, but if you could construct the most ideal application process to attract the best candidates, in an equal way? Like, what would that consist of? Would it be like all fill out stuff? Would it be interview? Would it be testing? Like, how would that process look for you in a new way? I have an idea of it, but I want to hear what you think.
I mean, in my head, just off the rip, I think it depends on what level we're talking about. So, I mean,
Well, let's say college
um,
students. Let's start
so
with
so
college.
college students, you're definitely, especially. I mean, it depends on the program too. How many people you're accepting to your program, but I do think it starts obviously with the paperwork, which you see a lot of, right? Like, what'd you do in high school? What was the typical? What'd you do in high school? What was your GPA? And that is such. And I think as you get into more finite, I would say programs. So like what's the one up there near you that's known? Towson, I believe,
Oh,
or
Morgan State, Towson, Maryland,
yeah, those type of schools, the ones that's
Georgetown.
the medical one.
Oh, you talking about UMBC,
Yeah, that. And there's I
Coppin
can't
State?
think of it. I can't think of it right now, but again, as you get into these programs that are obviously more selective, then I would say I think interview processes like you threw out there, I think that would be big too, is just to sit down and have that conversation, more so than, not just go off the paper. But other than that, I think, the big thing is that with that, why the application process exists for certain schools, right? Because that's what we're asking is, hey, who qualified, who maybe not, right? And I'm pulling in a real life example of a lot of times this is what they're using for qualifications, right? Whether it's jobs and or college applications or whatever, they're going to be asking these questions like, what is your background? Did you do this? Did you play sports? Did you, and again, they're asking not all the way to be like, oh, we're discrediting this person just because, they did or didn't play sports. But again, behind the scenes, and what sometimes people forget is like, it's more than just sports, right? Like, I think I talked to you about this a few weeks ago, at least throw it out there, which has been out there, where it's like everybody ain't going to the league.
Yeah,
Everybody ain't. All these players you see, those few players is like, how many players and how many basketball teams, football teams, tennis teams, even female sports, like how many athletes there actually are in the US. And it's like, oh, the few we see on TV that are getting paid to do this, that's like a small, small fraction.
yeah,
So it's like one of those where, sports isn't obviously the end all be all, but at the same time, they're asking that question because of the what you get from competing in sports, if that
yeah.
makes sense.
I think what you said too was what I want to highlight is having that application process be very focused on being in person and having that engagement. And I
Yep.
think through that engagement, you can even give somebody like an assignment to do that is like a placebo effect. Like it's technically impossible in a way. You know what I mean? Like, because you just want to gauge effort. Did this person try or did they give up? Or was this person creative? Did they try to make a solution that doesn't exist yet? Are they innovative? You know what I mean? Are they inventive? Like, what are they? I want to test those types of skills in those areas. I would love to do that like in person somehow. And then leading to your one of the another statements that I wanted to highlight that you mentioned was okay, you've done this, you've done a series of effort tests or innovation tests or creative tests because a lot of times those applications really restrict you. You know, they're very academically driven. They're very like metrically driven, but they don't like any somebody that could be getting straight A's in school.
You
They
don't
just
find out
doing.
who the person really is.
You don't know who that person is. They don't know who they are really at 18. Like you could be the next something, whatever. Because a lot of these great entertainers, artists, scientists, entrepreneurs, all these people, they start at a very young age. Like they find their gifts or they find their passion, they find their love. As a college, I would have an application process to allow that love to flourish, in the discussion. And then after that, I will follow up with the question of, so did you play any sports? Or maybe, do you have a hometown team? Do you, and I would take that. I think I would, after all those things, I would take that, somewhat seriously in a way, and I'm not saying you need to be a ball player like Allen Iverson or, Carmelo Anthony and from, Baltimore. Like you don't have to be like that. Even just a runner. I had talked to a gentleman, that, I worked with one time and he just said he was just very adamant. He said, I don't do sports. I made an analogy about, hey man, I'm kind of like the quarterback. I'll kind of like distribute it to you guys, and you guys can just kind of just run with it. And I think you can use that analogy in so many different workplaces. But he was like, I don't do sports. So at that point, I was like, okay, what are you trying to say? Like, you don't
He's
know?
like, I don't do sports, so I don't understand nothing that relates
No,
to
I don't
sports.
even care to understand either.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
okay,
basically what you're saying.
and
He's so
it's happened
against
like
it.
that. Even in the army, there's people just like they just don't like.
But I'll say this though, I mean, you bring up a valid point though, right? The gray area is like, why do you think people take that stance in the workplace to be like, because they know that. Let's be honest, they know that the world a lot of times revolves around athletics. So what? Why do they
I think
probably you
people
think
that
take
don't
that
do
stance?
sports, I think people that don't do sports probably experienced someone in their life that was just overly fanatic about a sport, and it kind of ruined it for
That's
them. Now, I'm not trying to say anything bad about the Cowboys or any team, but some people can be fanatics about a team to the point where, I'm just not interested no more. Like, I don't want to go to the games. I don't want to drink beer on Sundays. Like, I don't care about hitting and violence, and I don't want this. Like, you know what I mean? The high school guy was a
a
bully.
great point.
I don't even like, and then you just get
Well,
it. You get a job, and then you just work that job with other people that feel that way, and then you have a whole non-sports community,
bro,
and it's us versus them.
that's a great point you brought up. But then even adding into your point is maybe they were forced into it,
They were forced into
like
it
we talk about, where it's like you're gonna play football, you're gonna play basketball, and um, and that can definitely make somebody be like they may not be good at it, not interested, like you said, and then parents just
because this is the
so
interesting part too, where you have people that are very passionate about their sports teams. They can speak it now. They don't play it that much, but they still go to the gym. They still in shape. They're still somewhat athletic, and those type of people are the ones that I think have the most presence. They have the most, and that's all we're looking for at the end of the day. I think I say we as in you and I, really, as two formidable leaders and people that really care about other people, right? Like when you step into a room, you want to be able to present yourself in a way. Follow me. You know what I mean? I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Now, if you step into the room and you are, completely out of shape, you don't seem to care about your eating habits or your diet or your exercise habits. You don't have a football team that you follow, or let's say you're not involved in sports at all. Like, you have no aspirations to even be in shape, or you don't care about anybody. That to me are like kind of like red flags, because you're coming in the room and now you're just doing what you're told to do, and you're telling people what to do. And I talked to you about this earlier in the message about Simon Sinek. And on the x-axis, there's a trust, and on the y-axis, there's performance. I think that with people that don't have the presence, they usually are low performers, right? And they also have low volume of trust. So they kind of sit in this little low bottom left quadrant. And sometimes they can be high performers at work, but also have low trust, and that makes them toxic. And that's the type of people that you don't want. You don't want hyper, like, yeah, you're meeting your quarterly sales, you're meeting all your goals every year,
probably
but
cutting
nobody
people.
trusts you because
Yeah,
you don't care.
yeah.
You
No,
know?
I mean that's interesting because I mean I think of it really, as and I think we all been around it, even in the military, is like certain people, you're like, hey, they're a guru for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you're like, they can't lead no team, so we got to put them in their own little cubicle to the right and pass them out to do stuff for themselves, right? So,
Yeah.
even as that person, like, because that happens, right, is, they can be as smart as they want to be, they can be this or that, but you're like, okay, could they ever possibly achieve, a certain level if you can't interact with people, if you can't, do certain things. And I think that, pretty much that's what you kind of articulating is like those type of people, like that's what ends up happening, right? They're gonna be doing everything they can for them.
Yeah,
Um,
selfish,
and, and
selfish.
that's the hard part is that conceptually, I love tying in stuff conceptually, but that's where usually a lot of times team comes in because even then, like teams, we can always say we hear this shit all the time, right? Oh, so and so is a selfish basketball player. They never pass the ball.
Yeah,
Just being a basketball player on a team, it forces some type of team element, right? So like even if you like Jordan never passed the ball, Jordan still had to deal with a team element because I'm sure he heard
yeah.
it from the players. I'm sure he dealt with stuff behind the scenes,
And they was talking
right?
about that the other day too about like Tex Winter came in. It's like Jordan, you have to pass the ball to your teammates. Like if you want to be better, that's what Shaq and Chuck were talking about the other night on
Yeah.
NBA TNT because Luca is playing with like Kyrie Irving, and they like Luca should be scoring a lot easier. It seems like
Yeah,
he's still hard for
Luca's
him to.
killing too, and that's the crazy part. He's killing, but
He's killing, but they're saying it should be easier. Like he needs to learn how to play without the ball. Like he needs the ball in his hand to score, so he's scoring more points. But because you got a
they're
nice,
losing too, right? So
yeah,
that's what they're getting at
they don't
too.
look like a championship team.
Yep, that's the
Like
problem.
they don't look like Denver right now. I think I'm sure you got some good money on them, huh?
Nah. But my stuff's different, man. How I do it, how I roll with it.
We'll talk
Um,
about a little bit of bet. I like this conversation we had. Just kind of digging a little bit back into our personal history, and how that just naturally just transformed into, you know, sports and professionalism in a lot of ways. And I even could recategorize that to say athletics and professionalism, uh, because I think it just goes a long way when you're a team leader. You're somebody that's part of a team, in the sports world or athletic world, whether you're in a running group, a biking group. Just staying active matters, I think.
and I mean, and I think that matters too. But I also say too, I think that with sports for sure, the biggest thing is too it challenges you, right?
It does.
And it lets you know like where you at too. So, you got the weaknesses, right? So you might think you so fast, right? Until which I did. I was like, I'm fast until I actually got on the track and I like, yeah, I ain't fast. Right. So once you figure that out, then you got options, right? You either quit, you either say, hey, I'm about to be out here a day, be with the coaches, right? You know what I'm saying? Or you say, hey, I'm gonna go a different route because I realize, that's not for me. And I think that's the other huge part of, sports and things like that too, is that the challenge part was huge because at the end of the day, conceptually, things tie in. So it's like people want to know like your competitive nature, but what are you gonna do if something don't work out? What are you gonna do? Whatever. And more recently, I think I dropped this note to you. Um, and I'll say this gray area, like however people want to say, but it's like I feel like a lot of kids these days with the transfer portal, they're
Mm,
ready to go. As soon as
mm,
they don't, as soon as hey, you ain't the starting quarterback, I'm transferring.
yeah,
I'm out. I'm out. Oh,
that's
I ain't the starting running back, I'm gone.
that's
I'm not the
crucial because
star wide receiver, I'm gone. And it's like
yeah,
we that's gonna continue to be a trend. Tell
yeah,
you that right.
it's not going
And
nowhere. I
and
think
where's it really gonna get them though? Is that's the funny part
right.
is like how's that gonna get you anywhere? Because all you're doing is setting yourself up for a harder fall because you just keep on leaving instead of being competitive, instead of putting in that work to be better, you just continue to just try to leave to be somewhere else to look better. But it's like, bro, you done left.
To
It's kind
do
of like
what?
looking at applications. You look at applications, right? You see a person has left a job after every 6 months. I can probably talk to an executive about this right now and say, hey, if you see an application of somebody, they only stayed in a job 3 months, to 6 months, to 8 months. Are you going to hire them? And then are you going to hire them for what position? And I'll wait, right? That's what we are seeing right now with the transfer portal
Yeah,
is that like universities are even having to make that decision, right? Coaches are even like they even helter skelter, and I ain't gonna lie, I know they against it because they like I can't even keep my top players because they're gonna leave. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like they can't build a program. Like I'm watching a game with like and I'm gonna say this random, like Florida University, but
Yeah.
nobody's from Florida.
No, they from
they,
Ohio.
they
They
was like
transferred
literally
from
like
Kansas State.
every starter on this court is from a transfer from a different school. So it's like, what are we really even watching
Yeah,
anymore?
yeah.
We're watching AAU ball at the college level. That's what we're watching. Like we're
Right.
watching youth basketball at the college level. It is
But you know, something that I
crazy.
want to really touch on is the root of everything is that the parents to the kids, because they are still kids. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I don't envision this happening in the 40s when you, like you said, no one's going to employ someone that's been hopping around jobs every 3 months. You know, what position is that going to be? But I know we both have kids, and we're very passionate about their upbringing and what they do for sports. So I think in the future we can kind of talk a little bit on that parenting. I call it like the Fortnite era. I know you might look at it as just the modern era. I like to label it the Fortnite era because they are driven by that
And you
game.
got a skin.
And we got a skin coming up. Matter of fact, let me
Yeah.
check when that skin is coming up.
Show it when the hat shows up.
Okay. The hat should be here next week too. And I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in. A reminder, we'll always be on this level.